Vidal, California is a sun-marked dot on the California-Arizona border, empty, abandoned waste stop. The thousands passed every day on Route 95, pure Sonoran desert, hot summers, flash-flooding, mild winters. This is the last home of Wyatt Earp and his wife Josephine in 1904-95 in the retirement years when they were in mining. But what's this? We find out there was a secret desert cult 50 years later in the 1960s, which I'll tell you about later on. You just can't make this up. The cult of the Solar Lodge. It's a bizarre tale that just juxtaposes with the Wyatt Earp story. The two together make up the history of this small, tiny little town of Vidal. I'll give you a hint. The cult was called following Thelema, which was based on Egyptian mythology, but we'll get into that. From Nome, Alaska to Tombstone to Nevada, and now finally, in their later years, they settled in this tiny little community of Vidal and had their first permanent home while they lived part-time in Hollywood, and in the wintertime they mined in this location. Wyatt Earp lived to 1929, and he actually being a consultant on a lot of the old westerns. But in his later years, this is where him and his wife settled, and they could work their claims from the areas around the Colorado River. This is the only building that's preserved and standing. Everything else around it has been deserted and abandoned. The gunfighter of Tombstone, now a reclusive miner with his wife in this tiny little town of Vidal. The cult is even more bizarre, called the Solar Lodge, set up in the 60s. Believing in some Egyptian occult that was going on, produced by this English guy named Aleister Crowley. This is very bizarre. You'll have to look it up and read it on your own. They got caught abusing a 6-year-old boy, case referred to as the boy in the box. The cult got disbanded, they got arrested eventually, and you didn't hear any more of them. The cult owned a cafe, they owned a motel, they owned a general store, and they owned a small little temple in the area. Again, but everything's now been demolished, abandoned, and left to the desert. We have two histories, Wyatt Earp and his wife chasing gold and prosperity, and the other of the cult chasing enlightenment and ended up in scandal. The later years brought Wyatt Earp and his wife some fame and some money in Los Angeles as they consulted on a lot of the old silent movie films until his death in 1929. The desert is unforgiving. I've been traveling out here in the last 3 months, and when I see the abandoned town with a history like this, I'm glad that they preserved Wyatt Earp's last homestead that he actually owned. So thanks for watching. Please subscribe and comment.